All right, why are we going to start a business? Why business? What is it? What are the first few steps? So this is the very first step you have to think about when you're considering starting a business. And my ideas came from real consulting and working with 300-400 customers, with being in business and being sued and dealing with people and all that, teaching college classes and obviously going to college and getting an MBA. So when you go to college and you get all this information, it's very book driven. You know, it's some author who probably didn't own a business. And so my advantage in life is that I've seen so many businesses. I know what is going on in them. And so when I teach college classes, generally try to use real world sorts of things. And so this is going to be the very start of it. And what is the whole thing? And so why business? What is business? There's one rule to business, and that is return on capital. You thought of Fight Club and there's a second rule? Well, no, there's only one rule. There's only a return on capital. And so when America was formed, it created the first capitalistic society. And so those people who came across, they had an open land. And so they were able to own land for the first time. And when you own land, that's an asset. You're able to work that land and make something out of it. Your trees turn into houses, your trees turn into lumber. You're able to clear the land to make a farm. And the three things I think go into capital are time, money, and asset. Well, for any starting business, time is the most expensive, the hardest thing, and you really have to focus on it. And so there's only so much time in your life, and there's also only so much time in your work week. And so what are you doing with that? Are you making more value out of your time than other things? Are you wasting your time? Money is needed in a lot of cases to start a business. You don't need a lot of money to start a business. The cost of starting a functional business probably is going to be about $2,500, and just cash, not your work and time. And then the other things are assets. If you're going to do something that required a car, you'd have to have the asset of the car to drive around. When I first started working, I had a pool route and I bought a truck. And so therefore my truck was my asset. And I was paying my asset off by my efforts and the paycheck I was getting. There really is no second rule to why business exists. It's return on capital. So if we want to return on our investment, there's two ways to do it. We take some money and we put it in the stock market. We might get 10 to 12% annually. You could take that same amount of money and put it into a business, and now you're risking everything. In the stock market, you're sharing that risk among all the stocks that a stock has. But in a business now, you have a lot more risk, and therefore the investment into a company should return more than 12%. Your return on your dollars should be in the 20, 30, 100% returns, maybe multiples of the returns. So that's really important. The next thing then is, what are we going to do to start a business? What do we have to know? What skill sets? And what I think it's pretty straightforward. And I work with so many businesses. Almost all businesses start because there's a problem and somebody has a solution, or they have a talent and they want to expand on it. And so if you're going to be a plumber and start a plumbing business, you probably were an understudy or an apprentice plumber for somebody else. After 3, 4, 5 years, you've gotten to the point where you're an expert at the trade. You decide, I'm going to work outside of this current company and start my own company when you have a skill there. The very first thing is, do you have an achievable idea? Whatever that idea is. It could be a product, it could be a service. And can you go and achieve that somehow with your skills? Within that, I think you have some certain things that might be important. Your knowledge. You don't have to know everything about your market, but you have to know enough about what you're going to do to have a real chance. There may be skills involved. That's different than knowledge. Knowledge is your brain. Skills are maybe your finger. I was running the plastic factory. I had all the knowledge, and I kept learning the knowledge for the nuance of the plastic factory. But the people on the floor really had the skills. They knew how to make plastic bottles. And so to start your own plastic business, you probably had to have had the skills first and then gain the knowledge. You might go backwards. Certain businesses, you have to have certifications. You might need to have insurance. You might need to be bonded, things like that. If your idea takes assets, what are those assets? What capital investment do you need? So if you're going to do a pool route, you need to have a truck to do the pool route. So that's important. So achievable idea, and you'll have to decide what that is. But take some of those factors into account. Maybe some other things you throw on the wall and say, I think I can do this because of. Second is drive. Most businesses do not make it. 80% of businesses fail out of the gate. 1 in 10 businesses make it 10 years. And that is a hard fact in America. Only 1 in 10 businesses. So 10% of businesses make it 10 years. And to do that, you really have to be pretty good at some stuff. To make it 5 years, you have to be pretty good. To make it 90 days, you got to be doing something right. So that's important to think about it. Your drive is what's going to make it happen. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world to run a business. You don't have to have every skill, but you do have to have a plan every day to move it forward and to keep that moving. And so drive is the word I like. I use it in a lot of ways that explain things too, that I want to keep moving forward. Goals. Don't start a business if you don't have a goal. The goal should be something. It doesn't have to be dollars necessarily, but it could be, I want to make $1 million. It could be that I just want to be able to grow something. So the big goal, whatever that is, that kind of point in the distance, that top of the mountain you're going to go towards, That needs to be there. So you go, okay, I'm going to build a business and I want to have a business with 10 employees, say. Well, that's the goal. But you have to break it down into measurable KPIs. And so I want you to look up the word KPIs, figure out what that is. But really, within a business, there's so many different things you can measure, especially nowadays with the internet. We can measure anything. And what pieces in the measurement help with you to be successful in the big sense, but also take the steps every day to get to that big goal. So the small goals end up driving your big goals. Your big goal could be a year out. It could be 5 years out. Your little goals are the little things. The big goal is a big profit. The little goal is I need 4 products to get to that profit. The littler goals are, well, how do I make the first product? What steps does it take to get there? So those are really important. And that becomes organizationally important as you grow. But as an individual entrepreneur, your day-to-day work needs to be driven off of some tasks that are driving towards that. So those are the 3 things I think you need to have to start a business: achievable ideas, some drive, and goals.